officials of the department, officials from Treasury and the Audit and Risk Committee. I think there's Mrs. Zulu who is here as well, and other officials. You're all welcome. This is a follow-up hearing, SCOPA hearing. This particular hearing is in relation to the meeting that we had with the Department of Human Settlements on their audit outcomes. And as you all know, a set of resolutions that had been adopted by the legislature and which were sent to the department to respond in terms of a follow-up. This is the follow-up hearing, and I'm pleased to say that the department has submitted its responses. They are with us and have been emailed to members, but they will take us through. So you are all welcome. Let me just ask that we observe a moment's silence. There are those who have passed on, and let us just hope that, going into the school holidays, we don't have many deaths on the roads. Thank you very much. So in terms of attendance and apologies, Cabo, you'll tell us about attendance just now. I understand we are correct. But I know that we have a standing apology from Honorable Rogers, who has arranged for a substitute to be at this meeting. And I think this time the substitute is Honorable Naya. Any other apologies that we have, Cabo?
No, ma'am, no other apology I received, ma'am.
And then in terms of attendance, we are correct, as you said. We are correct,
yes. Yeah.
Right, correct. So constitution of the meeting, that is covered. Can I have someone to move for confirmation and adoption of the agenda, which is flighted in front of us here? Either show of hands or you can shout, whatever the case.
Chair, good morning. It's Honorable Zulu. I'm not too sure whether it's on my side. We do not see the agenda.
Oh, well, I can see it, Honorable Zulu, but Cabo, can you take it off and put it back? Maybe there's a bit of a problem. Is that better, Honorable Zulu?
Yes, Chair, now we can see it.
Okay.
May I then move for the adoption of the agenda? Thanks.
Thank you very much, Honorable Zulu. And can we have a seconder, please? Colleagues, Honorable Naya.
Chair, I'd like to second.
Thank you very much. So the agenda has been confirmed and adopted. So item 5, then, we will go straight into it. Honorable MEC, what we'll do is we'll get your accounting officer and anybody else who's going to speak in the meeting to take their oath or affirmation to speak the truth. Thereafter, we'll hand over to you, Honorable MEC, for a few remarks, and you can then direct your team in terms of the presentation of the report. So can we then get the accounting officer to take the oath or affirmation, please?
Good morning, Chairperson. Thank you for opportunity. Honorable MEC and all SCOPA members, honorable members, colleagues from Public Works, and also colleagues from Treasury.
I must apologize, HOD. I mentioned your sister department, but it's in fact Public Works that is taking the oath or affirmation. Please proceed.
Yes. Thank you so much. I think we have a team of 3 or 4, which is the entire ESCO. But in terms of the people that will also contribute, will talk to the meeting, it will be myself, CFO, and also Dr. Vish Govender, who's the head of property management within the department. If I may start, Honorable Chair, I, Sboniso Majola, I swear that I will tell the truth, nothing but the truth, help me God. Then CFO will be followed by Dr. Govender.
CFO.
Good morning, Chair. Thank you. Good morning, Chair, honorable members.
Sorry, can we just, sorry to interrupt, can we just have you to just briefly show your face, open your camera so we see that you are in fact here, and then you can close the camera and proceed.
Good morning, Chair. This
Thank
is
you.
Zanele Dlamini, the CFO. Thank you. Greetings to the MEC, the HOD, and the colleagues, and the whole committee of the honorable members. My name is Zanele Dlamini. I swear to speak the truth, nothing else but the truth. So help me God.
Thanks, CFO. I think the next one that was outlined was Dr. Govender.
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, honorable members of SCOPA.
Sorry, Dr. Govender, can you do the same, please? Just briefly show your face and then you can continue.
Am I visible,
yes,
ma'am?
thank you. Thank you. That's fine.
Greetings, Chairperson. Apologies for that. Greetings, Honorable MEC, HOD, colleagues of EXCO, all honorable members of SCOPA. I swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you. So help me God.
Thank you very much. HOD, I think that is your team. You said there were 3 presenters. Can we now hand over to the Honorable MEC, Honorable Nkosi, to give us a few remarks before you do your presentation?
Good morning, Honorable Chairperson of the Standing Committee on Public Accounts in KZN, the Honorable members of the Legislature, members of SCOPA, all officials of government, both from the Legislature and our department. We would want to remind ourselves that the Department of Public Works received an unqualified audit outcome with matters, and in comparison that I've made by myself is that it is a bit much better in comparison to the one of the previous financial year audit. And want to indicate, Chair, that we are still having the problem of the challenges around the contract management as they were picked up by the AG, but we are confident that our officials are dealing with them. So we also want to indicate that we are on a better position when it comes to the incurring of the irregular expenditure. As you know, that it was drastically reduced down to around 54.2 million rand, and we hope that we are going to do better based on the commitment of the officials. But we are still having the previous one, which I am told officials are dealing with and submitting to the provincial treasury for condonation. And we have to confess that we are still haunted of that monster called the Archibald system, which you know we have been fighting when we're on the other side, but we're dealing with the matter. When I was last briefed by the HOD, was that the matter had been handed over to the OTP Forensic Investigation Unit, and having checked the progress thereof. The last thing that I want to indicate is that we are still having some challenges around the question of the properties that we have, and there are 5 of them. I know we received calls every day coming from all over the province, because the people believe that some of the properties belong to public works in the province, yet the majority of them belong to the national public works. So want to indicate that we have engaged with the newly appointed DDG so that we deal with them once and for all. They are still working out, fine-tuning the new policy that will deal with that one. I think that within 2 weeks from now, would have met DDG Sibande, whom we are engaging when it comes to that. But we think that there is some improvement. We hope that when we submit our audits for the current financial year, we might get the better outcome. So thank you very much, Chairperson, for allowing us to make these comments.
Thank you, Honourable MEC, and as usual, you are to the point. I will hand over to the HOD for the presentation, but let me just highlight the areas that will be covered. One is the non-payment, the impairment of receivables, right, where it was noted that there was an amount of approximately 169 million that had not been paid to the department by various provincial departments. The second one was around the area of procurement and contract management and irregularities there. The third one was around irregular expenditure and the submissions for condonation and reducing of the total amount. We want feedback on that. The fourth one is, as you pointed out, then there was material non-compliance that had been identified by the AG in terms of performance planning and reporting. And then, as you pointed out, and this is a serious concern because it's in terms of the amendment to the Public Audit Act, a material irregularity that was recorded by the AG in relation to the Akibas matter, and which is actually costing the department quite a bit of money. So that is there as well, and I'm sure we'll hear from you. And then, as you've alluded to, the issue of unutilized state-owned buildings and properties. We want to hear about your plan for disposal or dealing with them. And then, of course, there's the issue of investigations. So those are the key issues, Honourable MEC and your team, that we'd want you to deal with. I trust that you would be able to flight the presentation, HOD, or your team.
Chair, maybe let me just request the team whether they are in a position to flight it. I thought maybe the Secretariat will help us, but if they can't, I think the team can do that. Can I check, okay, Mr. Shabang, if you can flight the presentation? And with due respect to person, with your indulgence, I would request that your CFO will take us through, then I will come at the end.
That's fine. I will point out that members have received a copy of your responses via email, so they can look at that while this is happening. Kabo, are you able to assist them, or should they just flight?
I'll request that they flight, ma'am, so because I'm also taking notes from the other side.
Okay, that's fine.
Thank you, Chair. Greetings once again. I will take you through the reports on the resolutions that were provided to the department. The first resolution, which is referring to the impairment of receivables, 169 million, as you've indicated, Chair. In our response, we have indicated, or we've included a table that shows a breakdown of the amounts that are due from client departments. The amounts that are due to the department, they include amounts claimed for infrastructure as well as leases where relevant. You will see that at the end of January, we had 702.869 million that was due to the Department of Public Works. There's a breakdown per department which shows how much, for example, we see education comprising 53.8% of the total debts. You've got social development at 56 million rand that is still due. So there's a variety of the debts that we have within the department. We are in constant engagements with the client departments in terms of trying to recover these monies. As at the end of February, Chair, I must indicate that the debt was sitting at 691 million. And then so far in March, we have received 31.9 million we are sending invoices and statements on a monthly basis to the client departments, and we have been we've seen an improvement in the last 2 months in terms of the departments trying to pay. However, now since we're at the end of the financial year, they have indicated that they do have some pressures in terms of their budgets because of the cuts that were implemented. So as much as on some cases they agree on the amounts that are due to public works, but payment they are committing to start making properly in April. So we are hoping that then in April we'll see a severe reduction in terms of these amounts that are due, because they will have received the cash from provincial treasury. But we have not had any indication that any of them are disputing the amounts that have been claimed. It's just a timing differences because of the delays or the pressures that they are facing in terms of their finances. If we move on to the next resolution, which was talking to the procurement and contract management, where contracts were extended without the approval of the delegated officials. We have implemented a plan which was also submitted as part of the audit improvement plan, which indicates how we or indicates the measures that we've put in place to ensure that contract extensions are conducted on time, and the relevant delegated official authorizes or gives approval in terms of the renewals or the procurement thereof. So with this implementation, we've seen a reduction in terms of any irregularities that were discovered in this aspect. The next resolution, which is at 180 of 2023, which talks to irregular expenditure incurred in the 2022-23 financial year. There were resolutions which were talking to what is the progress made, and then we must indicate what are the root causes and such that have resulted in the irregular expenditure. As a department, we didn't have sufficient capacity to conduct the investigations, so we did request Provincial Treasury for assistance in this regard, and the team was appointed. They are working with officials within the department and within Provincial Treasury. As at the end of January, we had finalized the 7 assessment reports which were submitted to Provincial Treasury. We have since received a response from Provincial Treasury approving that or condoning that irregular expenditure, which was amounting to about 80 million rands. The internal controls deficiencies that were indicated, or they were the root causes, we have implemented controls to ensure that such things they do not reoccur. I must highlight here that they are linked with the controls that we identified when we did our audit improvement plan. So they are actually working hand in hand. The internal controls that we have implemented, they will be assisting us in terms of ensuring that the irregularities that occurred do not reoccur. There was no evidence of fraudulent, corrupt, or any other criminal activities. The head of corporate services is currently commencing with the with affecting consequence management on the 7 reports which were finalized, and condonation was approved by Provincial Treasury. I must highlight here in this aspect that there's been a further, I think, 12 reports that have been concluded, and they will be submitted to Provincial Treasury for condonation probably next week. We are hoping that we will be able to get a response from Provincial Treasury before the end of the financial year. The 12 reports that are completed, they are amounting to about 120 million. But they will be submitted to Provincial Treasury, and then we await then the condonation. In terms of the next resolution, which is 181 of 2023, it talks about irregular expenditure in the prior years, not yet condoned. The root causes are the same as the previous, as I've indicated, Chairperson. There are
processes in place which seek to get approval for condonation of the regular expenditure. So in the financial statements, we will be reporting a lesser figure because we've received a condonation from Provincial Treasury. We have also taken the steps of implementing measures to deal with the root causes. There's no evidence of fraudulent, corrupt, or any other criminal activities. A value for money was received. In terms of the report that was issued by the investigating team, they did indicate that value for money was received and the services were rendered as client departments were occupying these premises. So the department is dealing with that, and then progress will be reported in the future to advise the committee in terms of how we are progressing with the reduction of irregular expenditure from the previous financial years. In terms of Resolution 182 of 2023, which is talking to material non-compliance, performance planning and reporting, there's a departmental task team which was formulated to deal with these issues. They consist of a director, strategic management, monitoring and evaluation, internal control, as well as enterprise risk and integrity management, to ensure that there's a synergy in terms of our approach to the matters that were identified. The main objective of the task team is to ensure that ensure the integrity of the APP and the AOP and their alignment thereof. There have been improvements in this, and it was also covered in our audit improvement plan as well. The next resolution, 183 of 2023, was talking about key service delivery indicators not achieved, program 2 and 3. In our response, in terms of program 2, one of the targets that we could not achieve was the payments to municipalities as a result of the invoices that were received from the municipalities. We were not able to pay all of them, but the invoices were received. We do still face challenges, Chair, I must highlight, with regards to the payment of property rates, because the budget is insufficient to cater for the invoices that are received. But once we've received the allocation, we do process payments to the municipalities. The targets on the conditional assessments remains a challenge, as there was a delay or there was an appeal in terms of the bid. However, this has been finalized and the service provider now is on the ground. However, that expenditure will only be realized in the new financial year. Under program 3, the department continuously monitors the budget spent and key service delivery targets. The 100% budget spent was a reference to the department's overall budget, not necessarily because we can't report on the budget of the client departments. It must be noted that the APP targets are a fraction of what the department does, as the targets are guided by the sector measures. There are other activities that are done by the department which are not on the APP, but contribute to the budget being utilized and further contribute to the service delivery initiatives of the department. So when you look at our APP, there will be other programs that the department is doing which are not necessarily on the APP. The next resolution which is 184 of 2023, which talks about the material irregularities on the payment of software licenses to Akibas. As the Honorable MEC has indicated, we did encounter challenges in terms of the implementation of this program. The latest here is that the matter was submitted to OTP for investigation. We are awaiting the outcome. The department took a resolution to terminate the appointed service provider, but we are then waiting for the report from the provincial forensic unit so that the department can implement the recommendation and take the matter forward. The next one, which is 185 of 2023, which talks about the disposal of unutilized estate buildings. The department has offered unutilized building to Provincial Department for repurposing. So this process is ongoing as the department is finalizing the list so that some can be disposed by way of bid. The department's strategy is to decrease the property rates budget by disposing unutilized state-owned properties that do not have any government use. We've established the disposal committee, which will make recommendations for disposal of immovable assets and then subject them to the required approvals before disposal. The department has also identified 134 vacant parcels of land for possible disposal or letting for the purpose of revenue generation and reduction of property rates. The identified sites will be disposed should there be no confirmed government need. On this one, I must also highlight that obviously revenue generation and the reduction of property rates will require the necessary approvals to ensure that those the revenue generated can be used to reduce either our current debts, which relate to property rates, or future requirements, as we know that the baseline for property rates has not been increasing in line with the increases imposed by municipalities year on year. The two illegally occupied and dilapidated provincial buildings in Durban have been offered to eThekwini municipality by way of donation. Palm Beach is currently not required by provincial government and has been offered to NSFAS to utilize. The department has also identified the Codmore Castle, which is an unutilized, dilapidated building, and list out to Eco-Study, a non-profit organization, for an environmental education project for grade 6 learners from non-fee paying in eThekwini. The organization will restore the building and use it for the program. The program is supported by the Department of Education. Resolution number 186 of 2023, the Department of Public Works on investigations. There is an annexure which is attached, which talks about the cases that are with the Office of the Premier for investigation. I will go through that. It's already indicated. It's already flighted on the screen. If I can just go through it briefly, Chairperson. The annexure has a detailed report, but I'll just highlight the summary on this page. There are 5 reports that have been received from the Premier, and the department is reviewing them so that the recommendations can be implemented accordingly. There are 3 matters that are at a reporting phase where the investigation has been completed. We will wait for those reports once they've been finalized. There are 5 matters that are still at full investigation phase, where documents are still being analyzed and interviews being conducted and so forth. There's 1 matter that is at preliminary investigation stage. The investigation team is determining whether the matter falls within their mandates. We await then a response from OTP in this regard. If we go back to the report, the next resolution, which is 187 of 2023, which is talking about the Vryheid District Office. There were delays with the project. These delays were as a result of various issues, such as the pandemic, and where we saw the contractor not being fully operational, even the department at this period, due to the implications or the results of the pandemic. However,
Chair?
Sorry, was there somebody? Yes?
No, Chair. It's Honorable Pele here.
Yes, Honorable Taylor.
I'm not sure if we are in a train where we're rushing to. I thought this was a SCOPA hearing where the department must respond on matters. I'm not sure what's happening in this report, Chair. How can the presenter speak about issues of investigation in the manner that we've been presented? I'm not sure if it's myself but I'm not happy with what.
Okay, Honorable Taylor. Honorable Taylor, what I would suggest you do is let her finish her presentation. Then when we open the floor, you can raise the matters. All right?
It means we'll have a very long day because we can't be summarized, Chair, on matters, on serious matters that we must go and debate and defend the department on. They must respond here properly when they come to SCOPA, Chair.
Okay, now I'm in a bit of a difficult situation here, Honorable Taylor, because she is virtually at the end of her presentation, actually. In fact, she is at the end, almost. So I'd rather she just completed, and then we go back to the issues. All right, let her just complete, because she's dealing with resolution, basically the last but one resolution.
That's
Okay.
fine. It's okay.
All right. Okay.
thank you, Chair. My apologies. I will take your resolution, Chair, and continue with the presentation. The defect liability period was amended in the contract to 12 months, which is in accordance with the applicable contract. So here, the infrastructure standard operating procedures are being reviewed and will be workshopped to all project managers and project leaders by the end of March 2024. The various guidelines have also been reviewed to ensure effective project management. So these are some of the controls that are implemented by the department to ensure effective and efficient project management. Resolution 188 of 2023, when we talk about the Ilembe District Office, the committee resolves that the accounting officer to provide a report on reasons for delays in acting on poor contractual performance and failure to ensure contract completion in timely manner. The department's contractor was handed over onto the site on the 9th of February. The project was proceeding when the site was closed by the business forums who wanted to take or to partake in the project. Due to the volatility of the situation, coupled with intimidation, the contractor de-established from site, citing that there were exorbitant security and plant costs being incurred to secure the site due to the issues that I've indicated. However, in May 2018, the situation was diffused through stakeholder engagement, and the contractor re-established and resumed operation. It was observed that although work had resumed, the level of production was low and the contractor was not implementing instructions issued by the professional team. It was for that reason that the department issued a letter of non-compliance to the contractor in June 2018. Following the caution letter, there was a level of production. However, by September, we encountered delays once again. And then, in line with the provisions of the contract, in October 2018, the department issued a letter to the principal agent to caution the contractor. The contractor cited that there were anomalies in the evaluation of work and this had affected the cash flow and production. The Department of Public Works appointed a senior project manager to mediate the valuations and payment certificates in dispute as an independent assessor. The project was finalized in February 2019, considering that there was a builder's break in December 2018 to January 2019. Although the evaluation method had been resolved, it came to attention of the project manager that the contractor was actually facing financial problems, leading to non-payment of subcontractors and consequently reduced production and labor on site. In April 2019, the Department of Public Works issued another warning letter in line with the contract. This resulted in the contractor employing a new site manager, leading to improved production, thereby giving comfort to the department that the contractor will accelerate and salvage the project. However, in May 2019, the production slowed down again, and the project leader resigned. Due to the complexity of the projects, the department expedited the recruitment of an experienced project manager. The new project manager took over the project on 16 July 2019, about 20 months into the contract. The project manager immediately took measures to remedy the situation by calling the contractor and the principal agent. The contractor performance deteriorated, and thereafter the contractor abandoned site in August 2019. The contractor attorneys issued an objection on the 5th of September 2019. Hence, a matter being challenged will take longer than usual to conclude. Within 4 months of back and forth and consultation with legal services, an approval to terminate was given. It should therefore be noted that this period there was no production on site, hence 133% time elapsed. The above management principles were applied to remedy the project and are not a reflection of poor contract management. Termination is always a last resort, as it has financial implication and has bearing on the performance of the department. The department's interest was the project's delivery within costs and acted contractually during the issuing of warning notices to the contractor to expedite the works in line with the contract provisions. The Department of Public Works exercised due care and project management principles as outlined and as provided for in the terms of contract. It brings me to the end of my presentation, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, CFO. Was there somebody speaking?
Yes, Chair. I was trying to raise my hand because I will just request that CFO could take us through the investigation report.
Okay, fine. Because yes, that is what I was going to raise. Because as Honourable Taylor has pointed out, if that report is not presented, we are not really in a position to talk much about it. So if you can proceed with that, CFO. CFO?
Yes, I'm here. Thank you, Chair. My apologies. Okay, I'll take you through the report. On the front page, as I'd indicated, that it shows a summary in terms of the number of cases and where they are. There are 5 where the reports have been issued, 3 where the matters are still at reporting stage, 5 matters where the investigation is still being conducted, and 1 where it's still under preliminary investigation. Under criminal matters, there are 3 cases which I will cover as part of the detailed report at the end. The first case is the one that is talking to alleged procurement irregularities by contractors and works inspectors at the department's inflating codes at eThekwini region. The criminal case, the recommendation were that a criminal case to be opened the blacklisting of the respective service providers, disciplinary processes against the implicated officials, DPW to explore legal recourse to recover any compensation acquired through fraudulent means by implicated officials. The department is analyzing the report. The implicated officials resigned and are no longer within the employ of the department. The criminal case with SAPS is being opened. The department is in the process of blacklisting all implicated service providers. On the next case, which is FR 25 of 2017, which relates to the allegations of stolen fuel card. The closeout report was issued in November. The recommendations were proper internal control processes to be strengthened on management of state vehicles. Investigation could not identify any implicated officials. Internal controls are being strengthened. The internal controls are obviously being reviewed and strengthened in line with the finding. Case number 3, which is FR 11 of 2019, which was relating to the allegations of fraud and corruption at Public Works in Duba District. The report was issued in June 2023. Disciplinary proceedings against the implicated official was recommended. The official resigned and is no longer within the employ of the department. Should the implicated official be employed by or rejoin the public sector, then disciplinary proceedings will be instituted against him. FR 11 2019 B1, which is S&T claims, the report was issued to the department in November. The recommendations were disciplinary proceedings against implicated official for inflating kilometers claimed, as well as a criminal case to be opened at SAPS for fraud and inflating mileage on claim forms. The department is analyzing the report. The recommendations will be implemented accordingly. FR 11 of 2019 B2, which was on the abuse of state vehicles. The report was issued to the department in November. The recommendations were the disciplinary proceedings against one implicated official for her failure to sign trip authorization and her supervisee on her failure to supervise, as well as disciplinary proceedings against the implicated officials. The department is analyzing the report. The recommendations will be implemented accordingly. The official resigned and is no longer in the employ of the department. Should the implicated official be employed by or rejoin the public sector, then disciplinary proceedings will be instituted against him. FR 11 of 2019D, procurement. The report was issued in November. Close-out reports is due to unfounded findings. Allegations were determined to be unfounded and the investigation was closed. FR 01 of 2023, which was on alleged tender irregularities awarded to a service provider. The investigation could not find any evidence that suggests that there were irregularities in the awarding of contract. Therefore, the matter is closed. FR 17 of 2021, which was on allegations of fraud and bribery by the officials. The investigation was closed as the reported allegations could not be substantiated. The matter was closed. FR 11/2022, which was on allegations on fraud and corruption on the procurement of the Akiba system and the alleged irregular upgrading of positions of district managers within the province, and a specific emphasis on the North Coast district manager. The matter is at the reporting phase. The matter is with the chief director for review. The department has not received this report as it's not been finalized. Report number FR03 of 2021, which is on allegations on fraudulent activities by senior officials. The matter is at reporting phase. The report is with the director for a review. It's still within OTP. Report number FR29 of 2021, allegation of fraud and corruption at eThekwini Region, EPWP stipend over expenditure. The matter is at a reporting phase. So the report hasn't been received by the department as yet, as it's not been finalized. Report number FR22 of 2020, allegations on fraudulent activities by senior officials within the department on securing tenders within the department. That matter is still at an investigation phase. FR23 of 2021, allegations of irregularities within the recruitment process. The matter is still at an investigation stage. Report FR30 of 2021, allegation is inconducive working environment amongst HRM officials within Midlands region. The matter is still at the investigation stage. Case number FR02 2023 on alleged material irregularity raised by the Auditor General on payment of the unutilized software licenses for the Akibas system made by the department. The matter is still at the investigation phase. Case number FR04 of 2023 on alleged irregularities in the award of the bids for the upgrade and replacement of infrastructure at Woodlands Primary School located in Siringa Road, Woodlands. The matter is still at investigation phase. Case number FR07 of 2023, on alleged irregularities on the recruitment and selection process for the position of the administration officer within the asset fleet management at KZN Public Works Head Office. The matter is at a preliminary investigation stage. There are three cases or three criminal matters that the department is dealing with, as I indicated earlier on. The first one, which is case number FR15 of 2015, the trial is on the 10th of April 2024. A new attorney is to come on board. The second case, which is FR02 of 2018, the investigation officer has changed and the OTP is trying to identify who the new officer is to take the matter forward. The case number 00 of 2010, this one, the case was closed. All the accused were charged with a conviction and were fined 250,000 rand or 10 years in prison and a 5-year suspension. That brings me to the end of my presentation, Chair.
Thank you, CFO. I think that gives us a bit of light. Let me just say that the issue of investigations and consequence management is something that we as SCOPA take very seriously and something that the ANC also takes very seriously. So you have reported on 14 cases. 5 of those cases have received final reports. 3 of those are in the reporting phase. 5 have investigations underway. And 1 is at the point of preliminary investigation, right? I want to comment on that just now. And then there are 3 criminal matters, 1 underway, 1 we don't know yet because of the investigating officer being changed. And the 3rd one is where the case has been finalized and fines of 250,000 rand or suspended sentences were given. My concern here, but I will say this and then hand over to colleagues for their comments, so you don't need to respond immediately, just note it, is that there seems to be a lot of the investigations. I'm not seeing enough of the consequences, and that for me is an issue. But I'm sure we will hear from you. On the Archibus matter, because the AG flagged it as a material irregularity, it's more than just an investigation now, right? And I know I can see that in your report you said that it was being disputed, but we'd really like to know where that one is going as well. Colleagues, let me hand over to you by show of hands for your comments, questions, clarification, etc. I can see the hand of Honorable Kele, the hand of Honorable Naya. Is there anybody else? Okay, so let's start with Honorable Kele and then go to Honorable Naya. And sorry, then I also see Honorable Zulu. So there are 3 hands in that order, please.
Thanks, Chair. Greetings to yourself and honorable members who's on the virtual platform, and greetings to the MEC and the HOD, CFO, and other colleagues who are on the platform. Firstly, I want to appreciate the report, even though the network wasn't that much clear at some point, but nevertheless, let us appreciate. Chair, I'll start with Resolution 184, where they're saying the matter is still with the Office of the Premier. I think I'm glad that the next presenter will be the Office of the Premier, because we must get a report on why some of these matters are still with the Office of the Premier and why they are so slow for them to give us turnarounds on some of them. The issue of West Point building, and I think they said it's Siemens, that have been handed over to eThekwini. Are there any agreements that the department has? Because some of these buildings, as they've said, they have been dilapidated for quite a long time. And for the department to just say we've donated them back to eThekwini, there must be some form of information to be told, or some form of agreement that we must be shown that it has been handed over to eThekwini. And appreciate, Chair, on the issues of investigations, your point that you have raised. I wonder, Chair, if do we have an instrument? Because I see that most of the staff members that are found guilty or that they are about to be prosecuted or persecuted, they resign. And the department says that we will then flag them if they are employed in another department. I'm not sure if we have, how are they going to know that this person is now going to be employed either in a municipality or in another department? I do believe that if someone resigns and there are issues of payback, we must find a way of getting that money back, or to be told that if they've resigned, maybe there was recuperation from their pension or whatsoever, especially if there's monies that are owed to government. In particular, on issues of the staff members that from Tuba and others. I think you've also covered, Chair, when you are talking about matters. I mean, you've got matters here from 2020, which are still under investigation. I'm not sure how long it takes for you to investigate a matter of someone at HR for recruitment purposes, or the allegation of fraud by senior officials. Why does it take us over 3 years to investigate fraud? If I could be made to understand on those. Otherwise, I'm fine, Chair. Thank you.
Thanks, Honorable Kele. You're raising very important points. I think one of the key things, and that we want to go after very strongly, is this issue of consequence management. You see, for too long, people have been allowed to go and do the wrong thing and not face any consequences. And I think the sooner these consequence management is implemented, the better, because it will make for a public service that understands where it stands and where the managers of the individuals concerned understand where they stand. Because we have laws, and these laws need to be implemented. I'm also concerned, as you are raising, and I know there are two other members to come, so we'll give you your space. But I am concerned because one of these matters is going to have an effect on the audit opinion of this department, and that's the Archibus matter. They've already incurred wasteful expenditure because they're paying for licenses that they're not using. And I think it was 1.2 million in the 22 financial year. So I'm not sure what amount will be incurred now because this matter is carrying on and on and on. Let me hand over to Honorable Naya and then Honorable Zulu.
Thank you, Chairperson, and good morning, colleagues. Pretty much the same as Honorable Kele has mentioned and yourself, Chairperson. It just seems like there is so many irregularities and investigations, and they just seem to be going on and on and on, especially the Archibus matter. And I see here that the report is expected to be finalized by the end of the first quarter in 2024-2025. One has to ask the question, is there not a stipulated time frame in which these investigations ought to be concluded? And perhaps we can get an answer for that. The other question that I have is in regard to the 591 million rand that was submitted for condonation. And I see that there are 7 assessments reports that were sent to the condonation committee. Perhaps you can give us a value or percentage of that 591 million that these 7 assessment reports cover. Then I share the sentiments of Honorable Kele with regards to those that have been fingered in corruption that are just let off the hook, so to speak, until they come for employment again. This seriously needs to be something done, a criminal case, a case opened. There has to be some consequence management there. And then finally, with regards to properties that are unutilized, I noticed that there's nothing in this report with regards to the parliamentary housing in Ulundi. Perhaps we can get some feedback with regards to that. And then I see with regards to donations to municipalities, it doesn't make sense to donate to municipalities or even offer to municipalities that are already struggling. I just want to find out, has there been any donations made to nonprofit organizations that are in dire need of buildings? Thanks, Chair. That's all for now.
Thanks, Honorable Naya. Just to say that the responses that are presented by the department are in responses to resolutions that have been raised by SCOPA. So they would not raise or report on matters that are outside of the resolutions that we raise. Those are matters for the Public Works Portfolio Committee, just so that you understand how this thing works. Honorable Zulu.
Thank you, Honorable Chair. Greetings to yourself, members of SCOPA, members of Public Works Portfolio Committee, Honorable MEC, and our support staff members from all the Public Works and SCOPA. Chair, I think I wanted to start by saying, let us then also correct the issue. You have just covered it, that these are responses that emanated from the previous meeting that we had, that we wanted some responses from the department. But also, Chair, let us appreciate the decline, I will say decline, on the improvement on the issue of dealing with the issue of irregular expenditure. And also, there is an improvement on issues of, in most instances, the issues of condonation were not adhered to the T. As a result, there has been some challenges as we go along. But also, Chair, I think the three of your colleagues have covered me on the issue of the consequence management. I think that it is still a challenge within the department. Even the time frames, I know there are some areas that might not be possible to say we should be done by this time, but most of them, they are still in a infant stage in terms of the investigation. Yet we are dealing with the people that are part of the institution itself. So we are really appealing for a kind of a turnaround plan that might assist the department moving forward, because obviously there will be challenges and regression in terms of when they are going for the next audit period. That is my submission, Honorable Chairperson. Thanks.
Chair, I'm not sure. You are not audible.
Yes, I just realized that. I'm saying that I don't see any more hands. And before we hand over to the team from Public Works to respond, I want to say that we do appreciate your responses. I think there is understandable frustration, particularly around the ongoing investigations. What we don't want to hear is that suddenly a debt becomes prescribed, etc., because this is what has happened in some of the other departments, and really, we really don't want that to happen. So we also want to see cost recovery in line with consequence management and details of officials who may have jumped ship from your department but gone to other departments. There is a standing position in terms of provincial departments that when an official jumps ship, the disciplinary matter is handed over by the department to the new department where the official has located him or herself. And we've had that, I think, in the cases of some of the departments, and we do follow up with that. I think there is, if I'm not sure if it's come through or it's in the pipeline, legislation which is now extending that to municipalities as well. And I think that makes for good consequence management. They can't run. That saying about you can run, but you can't hide applies. We'd also like, in terms of the cost recovery, the issue of, like, I can see fines of 250,000 Rand were levied against some officials and suspended sentences, which means that there was a guilty verdict. Would there be the possibility of cost recovery in that regard as well? I don't know, but it's something to look at, because now you've had the criminal case dealt with, etc. The Department of Health has actually done an excellent thing in that it froze an official's pension in order to recoup funds that had been lost to it. So it's not that this is unprecedented, and would be a useful, as well as a very, I think, a helpful mechanism now, given that we are quite cash strapped as a province. Let me hand over to the team from Public Works.
Thank you very much, Honorable Chair. Chair, let me also appreciate the comments as well as the questions for clarity with regard to the matters that we've presented before the SCOPA. Safe to say, Chairperson, in terms of, I think let me just start with, I wanted to add one of the things which is also a pain on our neck, which is the IDA, the interdepartmental account, that we are in a serious challenge, Chairperson. The non-payment of the IDA by government departments to the Department of Public Works has a serious negative impact in terms of the service delivery. It does affect progress on projects which are currently on the ground, because definitely it will result in non-compliance in terms of paying service providers within 30 days. As we have seen when the CFO was presenting to say that some of these owed monies, they are back, they're above 120 days, which is almost above 6 months. And it does affect us adversely as a department in terms of running the department. As much as there are engagements which are taking place from various structures within government, it's one of the matters that was also even discussed at cohort, including even at cabinet meeting, to say as public works we have a serious challenge when it's come to that. Number two is the emphasis on the issue of property rates that I think for the past 10 years, we've been receiving the insufficient budget allocation for quite some times. And we've tried to check other avenues where we can be assisted through provincial treasurer. But unfortunately, we don't get joy, but the budget get adjusted during the adjustment period. And again, the unfortunate part, when it's being adjusted, it does not conform to what we have requested. There's always an under allocation, even during the adjustment period, which also affect us in terms of paying property rates on time to the municipalities. And unfortunately, at some stage, we're directed to negotiate these property rates with municipalities. But I must say, municipalities, they've indicated that they've got their own financial constraints as municipalities in the province. It's only one or two municipalities which were willing to come on board and assist. In this case, mainly it was eThekwini, which was adamant, which were of the view that they can also assist us in terms of the reduction of their property rates, which they claim on yearly basis. Coming to the issue of the consequence management, I must indicate before SCOPA that in terms of the irregular expenditure, especially when it's come to a lease portfolio, the consequence management, the disciplinary actions are currently underway. After we've received the 7th report from the team through provincial treasurer, we are taking serious steps when it's come to the disciplinary action. They are underway, and we're hoping those one will be completed probably during the first quarter of the next financial year. The second batch, which will be 12 reports that we anticipate to forward back for condonation, which was also would have an amount of plus 120 million. Also, that one definitely will ensure that before the end of the second quarter, next financial year, we will have finalized the disciplinary actions against the affected officials when it's come to the irregular expenditure. But moving to the issue of the occupants, I must indicate before the committee that the occupants investigation it's a little bit a complex matter because it starts back as I think year 2014, if I'm not mistaken, Chairperson, 2014. So to go through all those documents, I think the Office of the Premier, they did indicate that they do have capacity to deal with the matter, but they will need time because of its complexity and also stakeholders which were part of the process when we're procuring the occupants process, which are also out of government, out of the province of KwaZulu-Natal. Some are out of government services, but they are trying by all means to fast-track their processes in terms of getting those officials interviewed and also submitting their statements with regard to the occupants. Because what is happening now, the Office of the Premier is doing the entire investigation, but not solely focusing on the issue of the licensing, but looking at the entire process which we followed when the department identified the need to procure the occupants system. In that case, there are engagement on regular basis with the Office of the Premier Forensic Investigation and also with the Auditor General South Africa when it's come to this matter. I think lastly, the Office of the Premier, they did indicate to say that I think the first quarter of next financial year, they will have concluded their processes when it comes to this matter of Archibus. And again, once the report is being done, definitely the department will implement the recommendation as per the report from the Office of the Premier with regard to this. But I must say that we are also reporting on a regular basis to before the AG South Africa about this matter. There are also specific timelines that were also being posed to the department to adhere to. With regard to the buildings which were transferred to which we are in the process of transferring them to the municipality of eThekwini, I think there has been some engagement. eThekwini, they are going to use those buildings for human settlement purposes to address the backlog when it's come to human settlement matters within eThekwini. I think 2 weeks back, there was a council resolution about this matter, which is the thing that we've been waiting for. Now we just to ensure that we process the administration processes accordingly in line with the relevant prescripts as well as Act. The issue of the investigation timeline, Chairperson, I must say that in some instances, we start doing it internal investigation. But when we see that it's more or less complex, then or we might not have capacity to deal with these matters, we refer this investigation to the Office of the Premier for the forensic investigation. But also, we are also utilizing the services of a provincial treasurer to come on board and assist. Then in terms of the timeline, which is something that it does affect us because due to the number of investigation which you might find that the Office of the Premier is currently doing, because they are doing quite a number of investigations across the province, all government departments. So it's something that maybe we need to improve, but also we need to engage Office of the Premier in terms of checking whether are there any other means to fast track some of the processes with regard to these investigations that are currently underway. The resignations of officially, we've seen it, I must indicate before this SCOPA that we've seen it. It's now becoming a trend that when we try to press or investigations are currently underway, officials would opt to resign. But those who are, where there are financial loss to the state, I think for those ones, there are also recommendations that through SAPS, we open case, then SAPS will do its work in terms of that. But also, one is also taking note in terms of the issue that is being undertaken by the treasurer to say, let's freeze the pension and recover what is due to the department, irregardless whether you've resigned or not resigned, while the SAPS case is being underway. But let's secure this amount in the meantime. I think we're taking note of that. It's something that we are taking back home and we'll ensure that it's being implemented accordingly. But also with the resignation, I think in terms of provincial departments, definitely because cases are get recorded or registered to our PESAL system. Definitely when someone is being appointed by other government, it will just pop up on the system that this particular individual has got a pending case with the Department of Public Works. So before any appointment, that will be through vetting processes. It will come up and also assist the other departments to know the severity of the case that is pending. But with regard to the municipalities, for now, I must indicate we don't have a system that also align provincial government with the municipalities. I'm happy to hear that the chairperson is saying there are means to deal with this matter. There are systems which are currently under development or on the way, which will ensure that these two systems will talk to each other so that we'll be in a position to pick up if there are those pending cases or criminal cases for those officials. In terms of the condonation that is almost approved by the provincial treasurer, the CFO did indicate that currently it's almost above 80 million, and the one that we also going to submit to before Treasurer before the end of this financial year, it's almost above 120 million. But I must say that that's not the end, because we'll continue to look into this matter, because some of them, they date back as 2013 in terms of the irregular expenditure that have been kept. So the team is also working around the clock to ensure that we deal with those matters so that there are accountabilities in terms of the irregular expenditure that is being kept, in particular under the lease portfolio. The issue of the parliamentary houses in Ulundi, I must indicate that the ministerial houses, some of them, they've been given to the Department of Health for their specialists around the Zululand area, but some have already been they are being allocated to the Office of the Premier for the use by the royal family, His Majesty, for the residential accommodation. I think, Chair, I will end there, and I will request if CFO and Dr. Kavenda can come in to add if I've left some of the issues that were raised by honorable members.
Thank you, Mr. Majola. Colleagues, first, let me see. Are you covered? Or do you want further information? Colleagues?
Chair.
Honorable Taylor?
Hey, we were listening to Mr. Majol. At least he's giving responses. Let's hear what other colleagues are going to say. Thanks.
Okay, fine. I also just want to raise a matter while we're talking. You see, I see in this issue of funds owed to the department, and we all understand the process, how it works, right? That the department has to rely on provincial departments to commission the work. They've got to pay an amount. The department undertakes the work, advertises, etc. And then the problem comes. Now, in your response, you are saying that because you are owed about 698 million or so, it's a huge amount, right? You are saying that you are considering or you will not take new work from departments that are in arrears. Now, it seems to be a fair spread of provincial departments that are in arrears. I'm not sure how this is going to be done, but I understand what you are saying, because it becomes a chicken and egg situation. If you are not paid, then obviously service providers cannot be paid, which then means that service providers in the province are disadvantaged, and you become in contravention of the provincial directive and the Treasury directive of payment within 30 days. So I do think, colleagues, that this is something that we are seeing the Office of the Premier later today. It's something that we should raise there so that there can be some way of addressing this matter, because public works and the infrastructure program is also a backbone program of provincial government. Let me then hand over to the others from the Department of Public Works who may want to add in.
Thank you,
That would be the
Honourable.
CFO and Dr. Govender.
Yes, thank you, Honourable Chair. Greetings, Honourable Members again. Honourable Chair, the HOD has succinctly indicated with regards to the two buildings that we are in the process of transferring to eThekwini. But I just wanted to add a little bit more on that to say that we are doing that in terms of the KwaZulu-Natal Land and Administration and Immovable Act. So hence there will be a Section 5 notice that will be published, and the whole process will be properly administered. But let me also state, Chair, for the committee that following the Cabinet resolution in February 2022, Resolution 7.1, which requested Public Works together with COCTA to deal with dilapidated or unused buildings in the province, I'm happy to announce that indeed we did formulate that steering committee. It did sit last week. It's chaired by Public Works, myself. And what we're looking at, Chairperson, is 136 buildings for the province of KZN. But 81 are privately owned and 53 are state-owned, meaning it's in the custodianship of National Department of Public Works and state-owned entities like ESCOM and Transnet and so on and so forth. Out of the 17 that Public Works has, Chair, we have reprioritized them. But what we've done is that our first priority is to offer to state departments. Honorable Naya raised a point which is correct as well, as have we considered NPOs and those type of organizations, charitable organizations. Indeed, Chairperson, the disposal committee policy covers that. But what it does in terms of the legislation, especially the KwaZulu-Natal Land and Administration Act, it's mandatory or peremptory for us as Public Works to first offer it to state departments and then consider other entities like NPOs would want to achieve same. Now, Chair, you would also note that the HOD has covered as well with regards to the matters of the irregular expenditure and the fact that we are tabling next week before Treasury a second batch of condemnation reports, and he did indicate as well with regards to consequence management that what we are doing. So I just wanted to add to this discussion to inform the committee that Cabinet has taken the matter of unutilized buildings or dilapidated buildings very seriously, and hence we are providing input as Public Works and COCTA and all other municipalities and state-owned entities via the JCPS cluster. And from there, Chair, we're noticing that if we tackle this issue of dilapidated buildings or unutilized buildings on a solo basis, we're not going to achieve it. Much cogitation has been received with regards to what happened in Joburg and also Cape Town recently, and you've raised it in the previous SCOPA as well as your concern. But I can safely say to you that as a province of KZN, we're tackling it on all fronts and ensuring that whatever decisions are taken, it's holistic and not only from a government side, but also from state-owned entities and also municipalities. So far, Chairperson, the response from municipalities has been excellent, with the exception of few, which we are dealing with the accounting officers. But I just wanted to add that following Cabinet's resolution of 7.1 in February 2023, there's been considerable developments. Thank you, Chair, and thank you, members.
Thank you, Chairperson and honorable members. The HOD has covered me in terms of the responses that are touching the recovery through pension has been advised by you, Chair, as well as the irregular expenditure and the progress made to date. I just want to comment, Chair, on the issue of IDAs. Further to the controls that we have implemented, what we are doing now is that on a monthly basis, before when we receive payments for the client departments, obviously we disperse payments first according to the departments who have paid Public Works, so that then that we've seen some engagement or some action on the side of the client departments, because we are no longer paying the service providers upfront because we do not have the capacity anymore because of the delays in terms of the recovery thereof. So now we are seeing more departments coming on board in terms of being on track with their payments. It's now just the one or two major departments that where we're having a delay with them reimbursing the department. But we are hoping that in the new year that situation may proceed, will improve. But with the other departments, on a monthly basis, we will engage the department and then they pay Public Works, and then we will continue with the dispersing to the service providers, because they are seeing the disruption of services on the ground in terms of their projects. So we are hoping this will alleviate any pressure which then could come if we take on new projects, because they are reducing the old balances. And we just need further engagements with the 2 or 3 departments where they've cited some challenges. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, CFO. Colleagues, are there any further, anything you want to follow up? I think MEC, HOD, and the team here, as SCOPA, we will be following up. We will rely on our colleagues from the portfolio committee who see you more frequently to also follow up on some of the other issues. And once that is done, we can take this further. I am very concerned, I have to say, about the debt owing to public works, because this debt impacts negatively, I would think, on payment to service providers, etc. So, colleagues, I'm suggesting that we do raise this when we meet the Office of the Premier to see whether there can be some coordinated response about how departments at least look at addressing this debt. We don't want infrastructure in the province to stop. Neither do we want service providers not to be paid. But I'm not seeing any hands. So I think on that note, we could end this engagement. And thank you very much, HOD and your team. And we can release the team. Oh, sorry, Honorable Kele. Proceed.
No, I want to concur to what you're saying, Honorable Chair, on issue of debt owed by sister departments on public works. I think as much as we are going to be speaking to the Office of the Premier, we can also write to those departments as SCOPA, and we find out from them why they must respond, Chair, because when the matter has come to SCOPA and it affects service delivery in the province and it affects payment of people, in particular small business, it's really unacceptable, Chair. Then departments must do better, because I'm finding out that some of the departments, even if they don't bring projects to the Department of Public Works, they use these other entities. I'm forgetting even the names. So their projects, infrastructure projects, they continue outside of public. So yeah, thanks, Chief.
Thanks, Honorable Kele. I think that's an excellent suggestion, and we shall do that. I think our admin is making a note of that, because this is debt. You see, my concern also is that in order for this to have been, these projects, for them to have been undertaken by Public Works, there would have had to be an upfront payment, etc. But departments would have had to approve these projects and set aside funds. So I don't understand where the funds are going and why they're not being paid. It seems like there is, departments are being reimbursed, but let's follow that up. Okay. And we'll deal with that. Okay. Thanks, Honorable Kele, for that suggestion. And I think it's very useful. And we'll certainly do that. Colleagues, we are now at the end of this presentation and this hearing with Public Works. So let me then release the team. MEC, I'm sure, would be remaining, because his other responsibility is coming on next, which is the Department of Human Settlements. But thank you very much, HOD and the team from Public Works. And we will do follow-ups in order to engage with how you are going forward. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Honorable Chairperson and members. Thank you.
Thanks. Colleagues, do you want a 5-minute break, or are you good for us to continue?
No, let's continue, Chair. We still have Office of the Premier.
Yes, thank you. Okay, so let me then welcome the HOD from Human Settlements, and I presume your team is here. The MEC is already with us, so we don't need to re-welcome you, MEC, except to welcome you with the other hat. The agenda is in front of us. We have received the responses from the Department of Human Settlements, and they are quite comprehensive responses. I've been through them, and they are reasonable, but colleagues will deal with them as well. So we'd like to welcome you. And Cabo, are there any apologies? I'm not sure if the chair of the committee is here with us, Portfolio Committee.
No apology that I received. However, okay. I know that from from Human Settlement, as they'll be attending now, but they also have something which are handing out or house it somewhere. But yeah, that's the story, man.
Okay, fine. But they are here now, so that's good enough. Okay, so thank you, everyone. And in terms of SCOPA, we are all here. So this meeting is duly constituted. I'll jump to item 4, confirmation and adoption of this agenda. Can I have a move and a seconder, please?
I move, Chair.
Thanks, Honourable Clela. A seconder, please.
Honourable Naya.
Thanks, Honourable Naya. Let me also just recognize the presence of Honourable Mapena, who is here with us. I've also seen Honourable Shinga, and if I'm missing anyone, please let me know, as well as members of the Portfolio Committee who are here. Okay, so before we give the MEC the opportunity to give us a few remarks on human settlements, he said the second department under his watch, let me just ask for the HOD and whichever members of your team are going to be presenting to take an oath or affirmation to speak the truth. Then we'll hand over to the MEC for his remarks, and then we'll go into the presentation of your report. HOD?
Good morning, Chairperson. Good morning, MEC, and the members of the committee and colleagues. Chairperson, I think HOD will join us in a few minutes. He was at the Exco at eThekwini, and he did send us a message to join the meeting as well. But I think he's not in yet. I can't see him here. I'm not sure. But I can start with the taking of the oath.
That's fine. If you can just open your mic, your camera, just so that we briefly see your face, and then you can close, because we know data is an issue, and you can take the oath of affirmation in the meantime. This is the CFO.
Good morning, Chairperson. I'm Shimana Pillay, the CFO. I swear to tell the truth, nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, Ms. Pillay. Is there anyone else from the team who will be doing any presentation who needs to take the oath of affirmation? CFO, you'll have to tell us.
Chair, I think it's Raymond, because there are some investigation reports that he'll do, and it is Chief Operations Officer, but I think he's with HOD and they will be joining us soon. But thank you.
Okay, but in the meantime, we can then get Raymond to take the oath of affirmation.
Morning, Chair and colleagues. Raymond Mohan. I swear to tell the truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God. Thank you.
Thanks. Just checking if HOD is coming. Okay, so we haven't yet got the HOD in, but what we can do, MEC, if this is fine with you, is we can hand over to you for your opening remarks. CFO, would you be able to do that presentation whilst the HOD is still to come in?
Yes, Chair, I can.
Okay, fine. So let's get the opening remarks from the MEC and then hand over to the team from Human Settlements. MEC?
Very much, Honorable Chairperson. I just wanted to show the face so that you realize that I am on duty as we speak. So we want to indicate that we dropped, as if we can remind yourselves, in terms of the audit outcome, we dropped from the clean audit to the unqualified with matters which we contested that you know, more specifically the one that has been sent to the National Treasury because of the lack of closer agreement with the AG on the matter, but these are minor issues. So wanted just to indicate that we received the rollovers as it was indicated, and I was given the assurance by February that we would have spent it in full by the time we reach the end of the financial year. So that rollover was just at more than 360 million rand. And we also want to indicate that we are complying in terms of submitting to the provincial treasury in terms of the irregular expenditure. So we hope that the condonation will come. We want also to indicate that we incurred the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. I can't remember the amount. It was around 1.4 million rand, if my memory serves me correctly, of the fruitless and wasteful expenditure. We have been given the assurance that it has been investigated. The one that is an old one, and the officials will talk about it, and I agree with the route they are going to take in order to deal with that one. And mind you, it belongs to 2012-2013 financial year, if I'm not mistaken. And the one that I was talking about that is in dispute is the issue of procurement and contract management, which we ended up referring it to the National Treasury for adjudication. We will agree with the outcome that will come from the National Treasury. The fact that we are not in 100% agreement with the AG is technical in nature. I hope the officials are going to indicate on that one. The last thing that I wanted just to indicate, Chair, is that there are a lot of targets that we failed to achieve as a result of the crisis that we had in April and May 2023. No, 2022, I'm sorry, which then affected us a lot. And the problem that we have currently is that somewhere in October, November, the National Department of Human Settlement took away from our province an amount of more than 425 million rand. And we have not repeated the mistake that happened in the previous financial year. We had to submit to the legislature the amendment of the targets as they appear in the APP. Most fortunately, in the last sitting of the legislature, the speaker indicated the receipt of that submission that we made. We hope that we are not going to be caught up to that embarrassing situation where only 44 targets were achieved. But the problem was created by the National Department of Human Settlements that did not amend the targets, the ones in the main that are set national. So thank you very much, Chairperson, and the colleagues. Thank you very much for allowing us to make these remarks. Thank you.
Thank you very much, MEC. Hands-on as usual. So I think, we can then hand over to the team to do the presentation. But let me just briefly outline the issues as you have alluded to some of them. Just checking if the HOD has come in. No, not yet. All right. So the issues that we have are the material underspending of government grants that was there, the irregular expenditure and condonation thereof, fruitless and wasteful expenditure, unauthorized expenditure, compliance with legislation around procurement and contract management, the achievement of key performance targets, the completeness of your indicators in Program 2, forensic investigations, and then several of your infrastructure projects which have been delayed, findings on flood relief, on the TRUs, that was a follow-up audit that the AG had conducted, and then your key infrastructure projects where there were delays and problems, including Umbulwane area, H Kanko housing, Rocky Park, and I think it was Jigajo. Then the last one would be the issue around the KZN housing fund and the material impairment of receivables. So those are the areas to be covered. CFO, I'm not sure whether you would be able to flight that or your team and proceed.
Chairperson, one of our team, Raksha, is flighting it, and I can proceed with the presentation. I just want to say that I will cover all the accounting-related matters. Raymond will cover the forensic investigations, And the value add findings on the infrastructure projects will be done by Tulani Bengu, chairperson. He wasn't here when we took the oath, but I presume that it'll be okay for him to do that just before he presents, and I will continue in the interim.
That's fine.
Okay, Chair?
That's fine. I think Tulani can take the oath just before he does his presentation, and you can continue, Sefo.
Thank you. Chairperson, the first resolution was on the material underspending of the government grants, and I'm going to take the report as read and just go through the actual responses briefly. In terms of this, the department was anticipating to fully spend the HSDG and the UISP, that's Informal Settlements Upgrading Partnership Grant, as well as the emergency grant at the end of March 2024. We've met with our service providers and been on site where they were undertaking construction. Projects have been enrolled with the NHBRC, and the home enrollment process is ongoing. The subsidy was realigned to the current subsidy quantum, and addenda were concluded. So, Chairperson, in the current financial year, we are very close to spending our full grant. We had a rollover in the previous year, as MEC spoke to earlier, where we had the balance of 360 million rand to spend, and we have spent that in the current financial year. We are anticipating an underspending on the emergency grant or for the disaster grant for the following financial year, where we have committed all of those funds, and we will be requesting a subsequent rollover in the following year. And the issues that we raised in the previous rollover submission are the same. In fact, it was all dependent on the planning and the availability of land, and that is why there were delays in that. But we have spent the first 360 million of that grant. It was the second tranche that was given to us in the current financial year that is still not completely spent. The second resolution, 127, talked to the irregular expenditure that were not condoned from prior years. Our response is that we've made significant progress in performing determination tests. Investigations were done by a risk management unit. And in some of the irregular expenditure cases, they were forwarded to Provincial Treasury for condonation. These investigations did not result in any of the officials being held accountable, and as such, there was no consequence management instituted. These cases were very old. They stem to prior 2009-2010 financial years. Some investigations are in progress, and they will result in further condonation submissions to Provincial Treasury before the end of March of 2024. Further to the condonation submissions, information was requested by Provincial Treasury, and that was furnished to them recently. And these cases relate to the 2009-2010 financial years. The third resolution, 128, on fruitless and wasteful expenditure, MEC has also spoken to this. We have finalized investigations in respect of all fruitless and wasteful expenditure. In respect of the 2012-2013 year, an ex-employee was held accountable for incurring interest on late payments for municipal rates and services. This amounted to 52,119 rand, and the recovery process has been initiated. The balance of the fruitless and wasteful expenditure is 52,000, and all other amounts have been resolved and removed from the register. So that is the only one that we are instituting recovery processes at the moment. It's sitting with our loss control unit. Resolution 4, item resolution 129, this related to unauthorized expenditure in the 2022-23 year of 6.5 million rand. Chairperson, here we point out every time we explain this that it was underspending in program 4 and overspending in program 1. And because they are separate programs, because the one is the housing fund, we cannot make adjustments post the financial year end. We have to classify it as unauthorized in one program and underspending in the other program. we did utilize the funds from Program 4 for ensuring that we paid for various items that were critical for our business unit to function. We made payments for the annual license renewal of the Sophos IDS and IPS, renewal of cybersecurity awareness licenses, and for the procurement of a leave system, an e-leave system that integrates with the Purcell, and we needed to interface support and maintenance for the year. We made payment for August O+ software licenses that are used by HR section for the review, updating, and testing of our departmental business continuity plans as well. Payment was made for the renewal of Microsoft Office licenses for the current financial year. It did exceed our budget due to exchange rate fluctuations. Travel and subsistence allocation was negatively impacted by the budget cuts in the current financial year. Just to point out that our budget cut for that for the financial year was 78 million rand due to the fiscal consolidation, and there was a huge strain in terms of our operations budget. We also confirming that there was no financial loss and no official was negligent, therefore no disciplinary action was taken. The expenditure incurred was justified in respect of the operations of the department, and management has introduced measures to ensure that over expenditure is detected timelessly and that the necessary adjustments are undertaken to avoid this going forward. Resolution 130 is on the department's compliance with procurement and contract management. In this matter, we allocated work for the 2019-2020 disasters to a panel of service providers that is already in our database. There was an issue around non-compliance in terms of how we allocated to the database. We have a policy, an internal policy, which says that we should allocate alphabetically. We did deviate from that, and HOD signed it. We did have a long dispute with the AG and Provincial Treasury, and this eventually went up to Provincial Treasury and National Treasury, and National AG looked at it. We got a response later to say that the National Treasury also agreed with the AG. So what we did is we cancelled all of those contracts, and we reappointed the service providers based on our allocation policy, and we have now put in measures in place to ensure that we stick to the actual allocations policy based on the current document that we have. It's in alphabetical order. We've had to tweak our panel rules as well to make sure that we address the concerns that were raised by the Auditor General. So we have changed our allocation as well. We've cancelled all of those contracts in the current financial year and reappointed. The next item was 131 around the performance information, where key performance targets were not achieved. Our response: the department has revised the 23-24 annual performance plan targets and revised the annual performance plan that was submitted to Provincial Legislature in December 2023 to retable at the next portfolio committee. We did get the go-ahead that our APP was retabled in the last two weeks. I think we got the confirmation of that. The next one around the completeness of key indicators. In Program 2, the APP was reviewed against the MTSF, and to ensure that the revised MTSF, to ensure that all relevant indicators were included in the APP. However, during the national sector standardization process, the sector noted that the National Department gazetted the number of PDAs invested in on the 15th of May 2020, that was 136. Considering that the PDAs were already declared and the sector therefore refined and enhanced the above indicator to ensure that the percentage of investment of the total human settlement allocation in PDAs. This was to ensure meaningful and relevant measurement for the progressive achievement of spatial transformation through multi-program integration in the priority development areas. This is a sector finding and was therefore referred to the National Department of Human Settlements, who will relook at that for the current financial year as well. Resolution 133, the forensic investigations. Chairperson Raymond will take us through item 8 on the report, and then item 9 will be done by Tulani. Chairperson, while I'm on the floor, can I just ask to discuss the KZN Housing Fund, which is 13. In terms of the resolution 138, it's on page 13 of the report, Raksha. The finding was that there were material impairments of receivables of 41.45 million, and 2021-22 was 43.32 million, and 2021 was 54.05 million. Chairperson, these material impairments result because of that in terms of the national EEDBS policy, where most of the debtors qualify for 100% write-off, and the remaining debtors will qualify for a percentage of a discount. So, Chairperson, so the impairment is done because of a policy requirement and imperative where we actually promote home ownership through the EEDBS program. So just to confirm that most of these debtors are low-income earners, pensioners, or indigent, while some of the debtors earn very little above the income threshold. The application of the EEDBS policy is a national policy, and it results in most of the above debtors qualifying for 100% write-off, whereas the debtors above the threshold will qualify for discounts based on their salary thresholds. As a result of the above, the fund makes provision of 95% of its debtor balances, which it deems to be irrecoverable. This policy was passed to promote home ownership and to fast-track the title deeds restoration program. The EEDBS program is being effectively rolled out and is facilitated by a process of engagement with the occupants, where we perform social and occupation surveys, a completion of application forms, while following the provisions of the PFMA and the department's debt write-off policy. The KZN Housing Fund have in the past year aggressively promoted home ownership and to ensure that occupants have tenure and take advantage of the EEDBS subsidies and write-offs, so that we adhere to our targets to finalize all transfers and eliminate debtors from the Housing Fund records. Chair, I just want to point out that there is confirmation from our National Human Settlements that they will be dissolving the Housing Fund most probably by the end of March 2025, at which point we are hoping that most of our properties are devolved and home ownership has passed on to the occupants of the homes, whilst whatever balance of properties are still within our asset register will then move to the vote. So we are, in order to avoid having these assets taken over to our vote, we are aggressively promoting home ownership. I've come to the end of the matters. I will now refer to Raymond to take us through the forensic investigation. Thank you, Chair.
Thanks, CFO. Mr. Mohan.
Good morning, Honourable Chair and Honourable Members, MEC and my fellow colleagues. Raksha, we can just start on page 6 on the document. I'll proceed in regards to this matter. In regards to the investigations FR 42 of 2010, there were no losses to be recovered arising from this investigation. However, the matter has been referred to the South African Police Services in regards to carrying a docket relating to the matter. In pertaining to the officials that were involved in this matter, their whereabouts are unknown to the department. Actually, one of those officials is deceased, and the other we uncertain as regards to the whereabouts. In regards to FR 42 of 2019, this matter relates to a housing project in Amajuba district, a CSR housing project. The investigation has been completed. The report has been tabled with council. Council has taken resolution on this matter to carry out those recommendations. The key recommendation in this matter was mostly applying to the fact that there needed to be housing for these affected officials, applicants that were there. And there was a phase 2 in regards to a Boschuk housing project that was looked into towards housing those officials, those applicants going forward. So that matter is currently in progress. There's been various engagements with the Amajuba municipality through the team of our project management in order to get this process moved at a faster rate. In regards to FR 31 of 2019, relating to a fraudulent letter where an official was given a counter offer, the discipline process in this matter was finalized. In as far as the one official in regards to the investigating officer, the second case, there was no charges that was preferred against the second official. A criminal docket has been registered with the SAPS that is currently under investigation. The matter relating to the recovery of the monies based on the transgression that has been reported has been pursued through our legal services. At the moment, our HR has advised that they actually will be engaging with our finance unit to start setting up a debt to proceed with the recovery process. In regards to FR 15 of 2020, this was also a matter relating to falsification of employment letters from a former official in the department. And there was also an allegation against a senior official for conducting business with the state. The matter relating to the business of the state was actually closed, unfounded. The matter regarding the issue relating to the official in question is that the former employee who's now deceased, the matter has been referred to the Department of Health since the official had taken a post in the Department of Health, and there is an acknowledgement as regards to them proceeding to look at recovery of these monies from the official's pension. FR 09 of 2022, the Office of the Premier has advised that this matter is still under investigation, and they intended to complete the matter by the end of April 2024. In regards to FR 30 of 2019, the Office of the Premier has advised that the matter is also under investigation. They gave an indication as to this matter being completed by 28th of Feb. However, they have still in engaging on the matter. They have taken various affidavits from the department. This matter relates to the Korakuza matter regarding the CRU, and this matter is still under investigation by themselves. I'm hoping that maybe SCOPA would take up this matter in regards to some of this investigation, and they do engage with Office of the Premier. The last matter that we have is the matter regarding the Woodlands low-cost housing project. This matter, we've been advised that the matter is under review in regards to by the Chief Director as part of the protocol, and we don't have a date as regards to this matter. Was an allegation that had come through the hotline that they were dealing with. Chair, I'll pause there. That is the matters from the forensic side. Thank you.
Thanks, Mr. Mohan. Mr. Bengu, if you will come in, but please take the oath of affirmation to speak the truth first, and then you can come in.
Thank you. Good morning, Chair, MSC, and members of the committee. My name is Tulani Bengu. I commit to take the oath and to speak the truth at all times. Thank you.
Thank you.
Chair, I'm not sure if it was mentioned, the HOD is in a meeting with the EXCO of eThekwini in preparation for Cabinet OSS Day. Unfortunately, the meeting also started at 10.
Yes, we have been informed. It's fine. Yes. And we understand that 3 of you here are able to do the presentation. Sure. We also have the MEC, so we are quite comfortable. And I can also welcome the chairperson of the Portfolio Committee as well, who has joined us.
All right. Thank you. Raksha, then my part will start, I think, on page 8 on the substantive matters to do with what had been raised. First one being number 9, to do with the construction of temporary residential units, TRUs, in response to the 2022 floods. As stated here, the concern was that the process was a bit slow, and we were, I think, at about 1,142 units instead of 1,810 that had been committed, and hence the resolution that was taken. On the next page, we are clarifying that We have addressed the issue of beneficiaries. We have now installed the issue of the exercise of putting GPS coordinates for each and every TRU that is being built. So meaning we can go to it individually, show where it was exactly built. We then also revised our construction program for this work and put corrective measures on the work on the defects that had been identified. Through the weekly meetings that were held as part of the disaster response, we ended up delivering 1,766 TRUs. We then decided to cap or close the project at that number after giving contractors with instruction letters. So I'm advising members that the whole intervention closed at 1,766 TRUs. All of them have got GPS coordinates and associated beneficiaries. So that's the first one that we were reporting on. I think on the second one was to do with the 34 million, I think it's item 10, that was sent to eThekwini. A quick background here, we transferred money to eThekwini Metro for eThekwini to give building materials to the flood victims. That is the context. Then dividing the 34 million with the veil of about 11,000 per beneficiary, the target is that we were going to get 3,011 beneficiaries to be covered on this. The concerns that were noted, one was that we're not sure if, or there was question whether this is fully compliant with the housing code, and two, there was concern about the slow progress in the delivery of the material. To say money has gone to eThekwini, it's reflected as expenditure to us, but the people that are getting material and the pace appears to be extremely slow. The third one was again how do we identify the beneficiaries working with eThekwini on this one. So the response that we are giving, I think at the bottom of that page 9, Chair, is that we first issued a verbal warning to the officials that were responsible for this work, mainly the upfront payment to eThekwini, saying that going forward we'll then need to, even to them, to pay for the work already done. Secondly, we then recalled all the money, all the 34 million rand that had been paid to eThekwini. We then started a new process to say, show us where we have delivered material, and then we'll pay you exactly just that value. As you could see that here, then they were able to argue for supplying material, building material, to 576 families. And then for that reason, we then paid eThekwini only 6.5 million, in line with the, now because we are now paying for actual deliverables, in line with the families that they had reached at that time. We also have improved our liaison with the Provincial Disaster Management Center to consolidate the lists of affected people when the disaster happened, because I think the issue of discrepancy around beneficiaries was largely caused about, do these people appear on the PDMC list every time when we were giving material? So this has now been refined. I must say, as we move away from this item, Chair, that going forward, this has now been taken over by the National Department. Emergency housing in totality has been taken over by the National Department, but we seem to have closed all the gaps that we had in the material supply that we were doing with eThekwini as it's now. The second one, which is item 11, I think it's on page 10. I think it was about 3 projects, which all of them concern about the slow pace. It's the Umbulwane H in Ladysmith, Tugela District. It's the Nkango Road in eThekwini, and then later on, it's the 2 CRUs. Delays with regard to Umbulwane, I think, as stated. First, we noted that calculating 18 years include the period in which when the project was conceived. It's not necessarily the full life of the project, but even when you are still doing statutory approval, the clock was ticking. So we were required to produce a recovery plan and then also to show that identify the different roles as to who is doing what to achieve quicker delivery on this project. On Mbulwane H, honorable members, the issue was not the construction of houses. Unfortunately, this tends to tarnish the image of the department everywhere else. Building a 40 square meter house is relatively easy. The problem is to get the supporting infrastructure for a house to be viable. We tend to have this challenge. I can't say more often, but every now and then we tend to get that challenge. Here we had that challenge as well in Mbulwane. Even now, if you drive around that area, you'll see houses that are incomplete, but it's not the inability to complete the house. It's the challenge associated with making the house functional. In this case, to be exact, there was an issue with the sewer pump station, which is the function of the district municipality, not even the local municipality. They were not able to come on board on time so that sewage could be pumped because that area is low-lying. The department ended up putting money to construct the sewer pump station, which is generally not our function, except where we are saying we consider it as part of bulk in line with that percentage of the HSDG. We have now commissioned and completed the construction of the sewer pump station. We then needed Alfred Duma municipality to connect it with electricity. That part has now been done. We're now concluding the commissioning of the pump station, meaning when we know that we've got a sewer system that can work, we can then go back and complete the houses, knowing that when people move in, they will have flushing toilets as per the requirement of how the project was conceived. So that is what generally I would have said caused the delays there. We've ended up putting money for the pump station. It's now being operationalized. We will then be going forward to say, let's complete this work in terms of construction of the units as originally anticipated. Second one was on Kanku Road. I'm not sure when last we do report to these members, but good news with Kanku Road is that it's now been fully occupied. The challenges with bulks that were there, again, they had to do with the responsibility of eThekwini Metro to provide bulks on the units that we were concluding. Our argument, honorable members, here was that those people have been staying at Isipingo Transit Camp since the preparations for the 2010 World Cup. They were moved there at that time. So they were living really under inhuman conditions. We could no longer hold back saying we are waiting for bulks to be completed. We ended up committing on the bulks so that the project can then proceed. So that's the work that has now been installed, and the bulk services are now in place. Hence, all the units in Kanku Road have now been occupied. On, I think, page 12, it's to do with the two CRU projects, first one being Jigajo and the other one being Rocky Park. Again, the concern being with the delays on this one. On Rocky Park, if I may start with it, Chair, this one we are doing it jointly with the local municipality of KwaDuguza. We have established a track team to really establish how can we restart this project. There are issues of units being invaded. There are issues of contractors having left the site. Contractual agreements not being honored, and so on. We are simply restarting the project, getting who is there, and then redefining how do we move forward. So where we are at this stage, we are supporting the municipality to institute eviction procedures so that people that invaded this facility can move out. We then finalize the reconstruction, and then we bring in the genuine or the legitimate beneficiaries. At this stage, there is no physical progress on the ground simply because the matters are still with the lawyers of the municipality, determining the best method to evict the illegal the invaders so that the project can proceed. It's only once they've moved off that site that we can then say, how do we restart the project going forward? With regard to Chigacho, we are reporting that which is a positive progress, that all 404 units at Chigacho have now been fully occupied. So the facility or the asset is now being used 100%. We no longer have any challenges. Instead, at Chigacho, we are now exploring the expansion on the nearby site, or even putting a new block going forward. But where we are, all of the entire stalemate that had been in that facility closer to the N3 in Pietermaritzburg, we seem to have resolved it. The facility is 100% occupied. We are now exploring new developments going forward. I think, Chair and CFO, those are the parts that I was going to be reporting on. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Mr. Bengo. And I think, we're glad to see, particularly around that Kanku project, which was, really a disgrace to see that improvement. But colleagues, let me then hand over to you by show of hands, if I can see what's going on, and see who wants to raise matters. Or shout out, please, colleagues, if I can't see you. While that is happening, let me just raise this issue to say that in terms of Resolution 130, the matter raised by the AG and which was under dispute by the department, I'm glad that you decided to go with following the route of the AG and National Treasury. It just makes things simpler and, resolves matters. Honorable Zulu.
Let us congratulate people of KwaZulu-Natal. That project has been an eyesore, and we really appreciate that the department have kind of intervened and turned around on that particular aspect. We are appealing, Chairperson, that, but also we have seen the improvement on working with other stakeholders, which we believe in a way it is turning is yielding positive results. Chair, we are appealing that the ones that are in the pipeline, let us work even harder. I'll make mention particularly of the Rocky Park one. It's an eyesore, and we are requesting that the department can speed up the process so that the intended beneficiaries occupy those buildings. But also, Chair, even with those abandoned housing, if you go in KwaZulu-Natal, the need for houses, and houses are being budgeted for, and you normally find that you are being frustrated by the service providers. For us, as the government of the day, we have not reached the NDS as yet. We are still on the process. But to be frustrated by the service providers, we are appealing that if